Indian Rafales debut in Australia's biggest air exercise. The Royal Australian Air Force announced that Indian Air Force Rafales made their debut at Exercise Pitch Black, launching into the Northern Territory darkness to complete high-end multinational air combat training alongside forces from roughly 20 countries. Pitch Black is Australia's largest and most demanding international air combat exercise, a biennial event the Royal Australian Air Force has hosted since 1983 that takes its name from the emphasis on flying complex combat missions at night over vast, sparsely populated training areas in northern Australia, some of the biggest stretches of military training airspace anywhere in the world. This year's edition, running from July 20th through August 7th, 2026, across RAF bases in Darwin, Tyndall, and Amberley in Queensland, brought together roughly 100 aircraft and more than 2,500 personnel from around 20 nations, making it the largest iteration of the exercise in its more than four-decade history and drawing participants ranging from all four members of the Quad Security Partnership, Australia, the United States, Japan, and India, to European air forces including Germany, France, Spain, Finland, and Sweden. India's contribution to that lineup centered on four Dassault Rafale fighter jets, a French-designed, twin-engine multi-role aircraft that stands as the Indian Air Force's most advanced frontline fighter and the cornerstone of the country's current air combat capability, supported by two Boeing C-17 Globemaster III transport aircraft and an Ilyushin IL-78 Midas aerial refueling tanker, along with more than 120 personnel. This marked a significant shift from India's previous Pitch Black appearance in 2018, when the Indian Air Force instead fielded its Russian-built Su-30 MKI fighters alongside C-17 and C-130 transport aircraft, meaning this year's exercise gave Indian pilots their first opportunity to test the Rafale specifically against the kind of complex, high-tempo, low-visibility combat scenarios Pitch Black is designed to simulate. During the exercise's second week, an Australian Airbus KC-30A multi-role tanker transport, a modified commercial airliner the Royal Australian Air Force uses to refuel other aircraft mid-flight, refueled Indian Rafales for the first time, connecting with a single-seat Rafale EH and a twin-seat Rafale DH variant using the hose and drogue method, a refueling technique where the tanker trails a flexible hose ending in a basket-shaped drogue that a fighter pilot maneuvers a fixed probe into rather than relying on a boom operator to steer a rigid arm into position. That same 5-hour sortie over the Northern Territory refueled a total of 14 fighter aircraft from multiple partner nations, including Royal Australian Air Force Super Hornets, Republic of Korea Air Force F-15 Burmese Chots, and German Eurofighter Typhoons, giving crews from several different countries a rare, shared opportunity to practice mid-air refueling procedures with an unfamiliar tanker crew under realistic operational conditions. Successfully refueling from a foreign tanker might sound like a minor technical footnote, but it carries real strategic weight for any Air Force hoping to operate alongside allied partners during an actual crisis rather than only within its own national logistics chain. A fighter jet's combat range depends heavily on how much fuel it can carry, and a force that can only refuel from its own country's tankers finds itself severely limited the moment it needs to operate far from home, without its usual support aircraft nearby. Proving that Indian Rafales can safely and reliably connect with an Australian tanker demonstrates a level of interoperability, the ability of different countries' military equipment and procedures to work together smoothly, that matters enormously if India and Australia or their allies ever needed to coordinate real air operations together rather than simply flying in the same training exercise. This year's Pitch Black lineup also featured several other notable firsts that reflect how the exercise has steadily expanded beyond its original Indo-Pacific footprint. Japan's Air Self-Defense Force brought F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters to the exercise for the first time, Indonesia fielded its T-50I Golden Eagle jets for the first time, and Finland and Sweden sent embedded personnel to the drill for the first time as well. A detail that shows European nations increasingly treating Indo-Pacific military exercises as directly relevant to their own defense planning rather than a distant regional concern. The combined aircraft lineup for this year's exercise included F-35 fleets from Australia, the United States, and Japan, alongside Eurofighter Typhoons from Germany and Spain, and lighter combat aircraft like South Korea's FA-50, giving participating pilots exposure to a genuinely diverse mix of allied airframes operating together under the same complex training scenarios.